I went to a meeting in Geneva that was called by the WHO, and the person who spoke to us was the Deputy Director General from WHO. And she said, I want to tell everyone in this room that the Director General is 100% behind the inclusion of complementary medicine being included in the global healthcare system. And I thought about that for a little while, and I thought, is that where we're actually going? Are we going to a global healthcare system? Well, WHO is interested in that, shall we say. We in the United States are going to be asked to play a very important role. And the reason for that is because this medicine does come from Asia. Whether you think it comes from China, or you believe it comes from Korea, or Japan, or whether it has roots in all three, those three countries, as most of you know, have been warring for centuries. And they are continuing to war. The reason that the WHO is using the term traditional medicine is because if we use TCM, the country governments of Korea and Japan don't like that because they feel they have played an integral role in the development of this medicine. So back in 2005, there was a group from China, Korea, Japan, the United States, and we spent literally 6 days arguing over what the title should be. And that's why they finally came up with international, just traditional medicine. Now, I want to ask a question. Who in this room knows why we have ICD codes?
To count.
Yes, we learned something in class. What are we counting? Does anybody know?
What is wrong with them?
What's wrong with them and why they die? What do they die from? What code? The first development, the ICD-1s, was back in the late 1800s during the time of the Great Plague. They wanted to know around the world how many people died from the plague. And so we count two things. We count mortality and we count morbidity and comorbidities. They want to know what's going on with the world's population. Well, in 2011, the World Health Organization did a survey with the 196 member nations from the United Nations. And they asked, what kinds of medicine, what kinds of modalities, what types of treatments do your citizens receive? They found that 82% of the world's population uses some form of traditional medicine. Acupuncture being the #1 type of medicine that they're using. Well, that means that the statistics that WHO has only include what? About 18% of the world's population. So if we cannot literally count bodies who use the medicine that you practice, we don't matter at all. The little saying is, if you can't count, you don't count. Okay? You don't matter. Well, you do matter because so many people around the world are using this medicine. Now, we are the smallest consumers of the medicine. What percent of the population do we serve? Like what? Did somebody say 20? Did somebody say 1? It's about 1 or 2%. Well, we have a huge population. But ladies and gentlemen, we live in a bubble, don't we? We live in what they call the emperor's bubble, okay? We think everybody knows about this medicine, when in reality they really don't. So it's our job to tell them. So we have a huge, huge potential in this country. We don't work together, okay, but we have the potential. So at the last meeting I went to, the countries of Korea, China, Japan, the delegations from those countries are still arguing. We're arguing about what words should be used, what should the terminology be. And this is in the diagnostic codes. They're called ICTM, International Classification of Traditional Medicine. There are 800 codes so far, using your terms and your diagnosis, all right? They're going to be in the ICD-11 set of diagnostic codes. The ICD, what code set do we use now? ICD-9. How many codes are in ICD-9? Oh, wait till you hear. Lots. How many? 14,000. We're going to go to ICD-10 codes. The United States is going to change. We're only 24 years behind. These codes were developed, ICD-10 codes were developed 24 years ago. Okay? But we're going to change to ICD-10. How many codes are going to be in that code set?
60,000.
68,000, right? 68,000 codes. That means for about every 25 codes in ICD-9, you're going to have 160 codes to look at in ICD-10. Does that make sense? It's going to be a big jump for us in the United States. Medical doctors don't want to change either, so what did they do? They sued the Department of Health and Human Services and they won. We were supposed to change in 2013. We're supposed to go to ICD-10. But we're not going to ICD-10 until 2014, actually October 1st. Now, WHO is now working on ICD-11. And if you would like to log in and look at the set of diagnostic codes that ICD-11 is going to hold that are for your medicine, here is the website that you go to. Notice that I put it in really big letters for you, okay? That's because, log into it, take a look at them. It's the beta version, the beta draft, okay? Now, if you've been in my class, you know that these code sets are being built into what computers? They're going into the computers at Stanford University, right up the state from us. San Francisco, right up the state from us. Anybody know what the word informatics means? Have you ever heard it? Okay. It is a relatively new term. In fact, 17 universities in the United States have been given $67 million to train people in informatics. I do not know whether UCLA or USC is part of those, but I know that UCSD in San Diego is part of that $67 million grant. Okay? It's going to be we have one acupuncturist that is applying to be in that training. One. Hallelujah. Okay. Okay. So, what does this mean for us? Well, since the countries of Korea, China, and Japan are still yapping, they have asked if the United States will move forward and step in and take the leadership role. That means a lot of work for us. It's a lot of volunteer work. Anybody graduating this quarter? Okay, next quarter? The next quarter? Is anybody out? Okay, some of you people who are out, we're going to need your help, okay? Because we're going to have to look at these. We're probably going to have to field trial, where are we gonna get to do the field trials? The schools, okay? The schools are going to do the field trials. I think that's a pretty big piece for us, ladies and gentlemen, because the field trials, it's a perfect place to do them in the schools because you have to have 2 people form a diagnosis. We have a supervisor and a student, so students are gonna play a very important role in this. Okay? I don't wanna say I have my favorite schools, but I already have the okay from emperors to participate in them, so thank you for those. Yeah, it's pretty exciting. Okay, so these codes are to be voted on, these ICD-11 codes. The acceptance of these, what they call linearizations, are to be voted on in the May meeting 2015 by the World Health Assembly. Every country has 1 vote. Do you know who in our country has that 1 vote?
You.
No. No. Visualize me now as a lobbyist to the person who has the 1 vote. It's Kathleen Sebelius from the Department of Health and Human Services. And so I put on my goal board that I'm to meet Kathleen Sebelius. I do not know her, and I understand she's very difficult to get an appointment with, but I just got the okay from somebody. How many of you know who Michael McGuffin is? Michael McGuffin is the head of the Herbal Products Association, the American Herbal Products Association, and he said to me, tell me when you're going, because I believe my lobbyist can get you an appointment. My job is to lobby her to get her 1 vote for these codes. Right? If we don't make this code set, we will not make it because they're not going to do another revision, because it'll all be electronic. All they'll have to do is go and make the update. So it's really important. The United States was asked for $300,000. I'm going to brag a little bit here because I couldn't get anybody in the United States to say that they would help to raise the money. It's kind of like the little red hen, you know. She's going to plant the wheat and everything. So I said, if I take away the $300,000, will you support it? Well, yeah, they didn't know. Anyway, I want you to know that we're at $288,000. I only need $12,000 more to finish. Okay, so that's WHO diagnostic codes. There is an article in here that appeared. It is written by Will Morris, Stacy Gomes, and myself, and I don't have a doctorate. So I had to get 2 people that had a doctorate, but it appeared in what they call Global Advances, which is a peer-reviewed medical journal, and it caused quite a stir in the United States, the article. I've given it to you. It'll probably put you to sleep at night, so don't read it unless you have insomnia. But what happened when this article appeared in this magazine is that a number of people, including the editor from the New England Journal of Medicine, wanted to know what was going on. How come all of a sudden acupuncture has become such a household word? It's in the medical profession. And he said, you know, if those acupuncturists would generate a bunch of case reports, we begin to take a look at them. So that's the next project. So just get yourself ready because we're going to be doing that. Now, the second thing that's going on, also from WHO, is a thing called the Quality of Care and Patient Safety, QNS. This again is a request from the member nations of the United Nations, went to WHO and said, wait a minute, too many people who come out of the hospital have things they got in the hospital, okay? Viruses, infections, mistakes, falling out of bed, what they call adverse events. I just heard this week someone's mother who has had both knee replacements, her knees locked up, her right one locked up, she couldn't walk, okay? We have a malfunction in a device that has been implanted. In the United States, 143 people out of every 1,000 discharged from the hospital have to be readmitted. That's a very high number. That's 14.4%. That's a very high number. So the United States, as part of the Quality of Care and Patient Safety TAG, TAG stands for Technical Advisory Group, is working on, I don't know how I got on that group, but I'm on that group too. We are taking the ICD-10 codes, the 68,000 of them, squashing them down, making fewer, and grouping them like you already do. You put diagnosis together in patterns. That was a new concept for the MDs. They didn't know that you can cluster diagnosis. And we're looking at the diagnosis. I am totally dangerous in that, okay? I'm not an MD. But I got acupuncture in, herbal medicines, and manipulative therapies. Okay? You are in that. We are making our first presentation to this group on the 8th of September in Washington, D.C. We are going to unveil what we have put together as what they call a linearization for reporting our adverse events, which are very, very small compared to medical adverse events. But we do have some, right? There's a group, there's about 9 people in the United States working on this, and they're all volunteering, and they have put this together, and we're going to do a presentation, so I'm kind of excited about that. You, according to WHO, are going to be on absolute equal basis with Western medicine. There's no difference. You're not down here and they're up here. In this one, quality of care and patient safety, you are equal. Does that make sense? Okay. And then the last group is called International Standards Organization. Does everybody know who they are? Okay. They standardize everything, don't they?
From nuts and bolts to acupuncture needles to every little gauge everywhere.
Everything. Everything has a standard. Well, China called for a standardization of herbs. Herbs. China.
They're trying to clean up their image.
Absolutely correct. They're trying to clean it up. Why?
That whole lead.
Money.
Money. 85% of the world's herbs come out of China because, you know, they have to be grown on the south side of the mountain at 3,000 feet where we have 14 drops of rain a year and, you know, that whole thing, okay? Well, 2 companies around the world have independent labs. KPC out of Taiwan has an independent lab, and Schwabe out of Germany has an independent lab. Both of those companies process raw herbs. Raw herbs, how big a patch do your raw herbs come in? Does anybody know?
Yay.
Like that?
To yay.
When they come out of China, they come in bags. They look like fertilizer bags.
Yeah.
Okay? They don't come in plastic bags, they come in paper bags. All right? And they weigh 25 pounds. When they come to these 2 companies, they have to be analyzed. Every bag has to be opened. What are the 4 things they look for?
Mold.
Mold, fungus, bacteria, bugs, spores, whatever. Okay? Heavy metals. Is it the right plant? Is it the right species of a plant? And number 4, is it the right part of the plant? Did they send the berry or should they have sent the leaf? Did they send the root? Did they send the branch? Correct. Okay, Schwabe has found that 33 to 35% has to be returned. That's a huge amount, ladies and gentlemen. That's almost 1/3 that counts. Taiwan has found out that 25 to 28 has to be returned. Yeah, that would be a nice thing. So probably we should work on that. I also am going to need some people to work on the we'll have to start writing an herbal adverse event issue. And we'll also have to work something on manipulative therapies. This is our first presentation, and we did it just on the codes, the diagnostic codes, to be sure that we've got that part. But we have 2 more pieces that have to go in. We have a little bit of time. We don't have to have it done in the next 2 weeks, thank the Lord. But if you're interested in working on that, I'm more than happy to have you do it, because I don't have a clue what's going on in those. But I'm a pretty good talker, and so that's what's happening. So yeah, I'd love to have you. And then field trials, we'll start those. I'm waiting for the information on that. Plus case studies. If any of you have a great case study, I'm going to bring something. Who do you want me to give it to? You, Gretchen?
Oh, yeah.
There's an outline for case studies according to the Executive Committee from Global Advances, and it would help you to establish a case study. And we do have a repository for them that if you decide you want to publish a case study, you can publish it, you get to retain your intellectual rights, and it's for free. So we'd like to do it. It's free until January, so it'd be nice to have some of those in there. We had a whole bunch of those. We have a basis of research.
Yeah, if anyone has anything, come talk to me.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
We'll get you started. Okay. Questions, comments? How many of you, this was the first time you'd heard anything? I know if you've been in my class, you've heard it.
Is there a website that you can keep things up to date of what's coming?
Okay, there's 2 things. I'm starting an email list so I can text you out or email you out stuff, just because I know people need to be up to date. And the second thing is, we collected the money under a thing called the Consortium for Oriental Medicine Research and Education, COMRI. And yes, there is a COMRI website. And I'm going to start putting things up on the COMRI website.
Is that comrie.com or something? How do you?
It is comrifoundation.org.
COM.
RE. Consortium for Oriental Medicine Research and Education. Okay. When I finish this group of money, I'd like to raise money through COMRI for a public relations campaign